Welcome to the Relationships Inside Out podcast with Doctors Gregory Siebert and Kimberly Murray, licensed marriage and family therapists. Join them on this journey as they explore the ins and outs of relationships.
Welcome to Relationships Inside Out, where today we're going to talk about the 4 C's of prioritizing your relationship.
Okay, let's just say what they are. So compassion.
Yep.
Check-ins.
Connection. Communication.
And communication.
Stuff we've talked about in previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really the inspiration for this is a lot of the couples I work with. This is where a lot of us, including myself, my own wife, fail to maintain. These are the hardest parts.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them suggest we're prioritizing a relationship.
Yep.
I mean, communication is the obvious one. How do we continue to make sure we're improving our communication? And those to me are things like validation and showing appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
We have no problem communicating our faults, but really make an intention of noticing your partner doing things well and communicating that you notice that and you appreciate that are huge things to help.
This is probably one of the more complex ones. So I often have couples come in and I ask them what their goals are. Almost 100% of the time it's communication.
Yeah.
But communication in and of itself tells me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can be, is it that we need to talk more? Is it that we need to be more gentle with one another? Is it that we need conflict resolution skills? Is it that we need to learn how to talk in a way our partner can hear? It's also our bodily communication. Am I turning my body towards my partner when we're talking, or am I turned away?
Yeah.
Am I operating in a way that tells them I appreciate them, that I value them, right? Communication is so complex, but it is absolutely core to any healthy relationship.
Yeah. And even simple things. I work with a lot of couples and are surprised at how just rephrasing something to say the exact same thing can help maintain a healthy dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I think about something in the language of like, you did this versus I noticed this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Much different. You're getting a much different response and reduced defensiveness, focusing on not using you languages or but languages, like the little things that we're responsible for to maintain a healthy communication. We all have responsibility and sometimes our partners don't do it. As long as we keep doing it, eventually, like as a humans, we're going to come back to it because we're going to make mistakes. Even ourselves, we're going to fail to not.
It happens.
Yeah.
And in communication, if we're starting to escalate, our communication is going to change. So part of communicating might be calling a timeout.
Yeah.
Might be having us both take a few deep breaths, or to recognize we're not actually listening to one another. Communication isn't just about what you say, it's about what you hear. It's when my partner's talking, I am actively listening. I'm not sitting there waiting for my rebuttal. I'm not running through 50,000 points in my own head. I'm actually taking in the information and digesting it before I respond.
Yeah. And making the time to communicate. I can't tell you how many of us, we're too busy. We have never sat down and talked about us. Communicate.
And giving that time, I don't know how to say this, making it like a sacred space, right? We're not communicating while the kids are running around, the TV's on, I'm looking at my phone. I'm really focusing on my partner, eye contact, body language.
Yeah.
Said this before, where your belly button is pointed is where your energy is going to go.
Yeah.
If I'm turning my body away from my partner, but like kind of glancing at them, that's not giving them that full attention. Turn your bodies, really invest in quality communication with one another.
And importantly, nothing that we've said so far in communication involved improving texts. It's in person when we talk about the important stuff, when we're trying to communicate better. And I want to say connecting because it naturally kind of leads into the connection one, which is another one of the C's. So
connection. This one is multifaceted, right? Things that come up in my mind for connection are not just the communicating, right? Where we're actually literally connecting with one another, but play, intimacy, quality time, prioritizing that relationship over some other things we could be doing.
Yeah, I think with every couple that I've worked with in the last decade, I've scheduled a time for them to connect. And that could be going to share a hobby, or it could be going in one person's hobby and then the next time they go in the other person's hobby. Something where they can join each other. And during this time, they're not talking about the problems.
Yep.
We're sitting there, we're trying to be listening, because communication is a part of this, attentive, present. And it could be as simple as like playing a card game at night. Something that you guys are spending that quality time together. And the number one excuse is we don't have time. We got kids. We got this. Very hard. But it's a priority. It has to be a priority.
It has to be a priority. It can be as simple as, and I think I've brought this up before, but a 20-second hug.
Mm-hmm.
We know that when you are in hug with someone, like an actual hug, belly to belly, chest to chest, not sitting there like, okay, is this over yet? But actually hugging your partner, embracing them. Mm-hmm. Oxytocin starts to flow. That's our bonding hormone. We know that if you are invested in that hug, that oxytocin starts flowing at about 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. If you can sit there and really invest in that bond, it can help with building positive sentiment for one another, positive regard for one another, can help soften our defenses, or even just help us feel like we're more of a partnership.
And I think within here comes like the classic 5 love languages, and knowing your partner's love language and making an effort to engage in that, even if it's not yours, which is more difficult. We've talked about that in previous episodes. Finding a way to engage in their love language so they can receive the love, which is very important, because if we're engaging in a love language that doesn't match with them, and the love languages, by the way, are acts of service, physical touch, gifts,
words of affirmation, and quality time.
Words of affirmation, quality time. So say somebody has acts of service and the other one is quality time. If you engage in quality time with your partner who has acts of service, they might appreciate it, but they don't feel it.
It cannot be from our view. It has to be from theirs.
From there. So really finding out what that is. There's online free tests, and also with intention engaging in that. And not just like knowing quality time. Like, what does that actually look like? What is quality time to them? Is it sitting on the couch and watching Netflix together, which I don't really think is helpful, but if it is for them, that's great.
Maybe different seasons. That's the best we can do, ? But taking on other forms as well, right? Holding hands when we're out in public. When we're at family functions, walking away and having time for just us, right? We've talked about this with holiday things, really making sure our partner knows that they are a priority in that space.
Yeah. Date night's very simple one.
Yeah.
I mean, I say simple, but a lot of times we don't have time.
Especially with kids, it's hard.
Yeah.
So do a date night at home. Wait for your kids to go to bed. Plan a picnic in the backyard. Doesn't have to be huge. It's just creating that pocket of sacred time for you and your partner.
Now let's move into the third C.
Before we do,
okay,
intimacy is another big piece of that connection.
Yes.
I want to make sure we talk about.
Yeah, good point.
So intimacy, we have to think of sex, and that is but one piece. Physical intimacy, mental, and emotional are the ones that I think about. It is opening up to my partner and being vulnerable, sharing my emotional state, sharing my struggles, my joys, the things. It is sex. It is cuddling, kissing, holding hands, snuggling. It is trying new activities or learning something new together for that mental piece, but making sure we're fostering that intimacy. That's often a big differentiating factor between my partner and a friend. And it's got to be present in this.
It's one of the biggest things I think couples do not talk about.
Yeah.
Of what makes them feel intimate, like along the lines of like love language. A lot of people don't even know what that is, let alone what makes them feel intimate, and kind of finding that out and doing your job to provide that roadmap for your partner is exceptionally important.
And there could be barriers, right? If one partner doesn't want to engage in sex, doesn't feel safe, if I have a hard time sharing my emotions, get support in those cases. It could be from past traumas. It could be from your personality style, from your family, a whole host of things. So if you're feeling those barriers, don't just write off intimacy, do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then those are very important pieces to connection. We talked about the intimacy, the love languages, spending time together, the play. Those are all I mean, we're talking about big, broad categories here that encompass a lot, and we're just kind of touching on them. Some episodes cover them a little more in detail, each specific one. So,
okay. So you want to go to the next one?
Check-ins. What the hell? Check-ins are, and I hear this kind of, I don't know if couples know that they're talking about this when they are, and I'll hear often is, why didn't you check with me? You didn't check in. And a lot of interaction is built off assumptions. I assume my partner's frustrated. I assume my partner should know how I feel about this and act accordingly. And no, it's your job to check in and check out where your partner's at and what they're needing.
Absolutely.
And check-in is also showing curiosity with your partner, being curious of how was your day? what's going on for you? And being, I think, attentive of what language to use. Do you want to say how I feel? If your partner feels uncomfortable with emotions, maybe not the best. Say, what's going on for you? How was your day? As I just said,
noticing that your shoulders seem tight.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on.
Yeah. Check-ins are extremely important. And check-ins are important because one, it helps your partner feel validated, like you're curious and you care. It's also important for you because now you're getting information that you can use to help be more successful and effective with your partner. I don't want to say right or wrong, because it's more about how do you be more effective. Check-ins are extremely important for being more effective because we need to know where they're at. And quite frankly, a lot of us suck at communicating where we're at.
It's true.
And especially if somebody is an internal processor and is all in their head about it, they probably don't do the best job of saying, hey, I'm stressed with work today. I just need some space. It's really helpful for their partner to hear that and know that, because then what happens often is we personalize our partner's responses.
So true.
And if I don't know they're distancing, did I do something wrong? Checking in. What's going on? Oh, I'm stressed with work. Oh, good. I know it's not about me. Is there anything you need? And when you can check in, it also offers opportunity for support.
Yeah. And it can be at random times, just as you're noticing shifts, but it can also be daily check-ins where I encourage just about every couple I work with. Daily. Yes, you have time daily. I know it doesn't feel like you do, but you do prioritize it to check in on highs, lows, needs, and appreciations. So what were the good points of your day? What were some of the hard points? What do you appreciate about your partner? That is important. If I can every day say, I appreciated this. I appreciate that you did the dishes. I appreciated that you texted me, whatever. And then needs. Tomorrow I need. Or I need for us to communicate more tomorrow. Or I need help with picking up the kids from sports, whatever. It opens up that line of communication preemptively, hopefully. So that things don't build up. We're touching base. We are every day with the appreciations alone, sharing something we value about our partner. It seems simple, but that can go such a long way in creating relationship stability.
And the first C, communication, naturally falls into all of these. And you talk about appreciation, right? Communicating appreciations are important. There is also the idea of, if you're asking for needs, I find it very important to buffer this and validate where we're successful, not just saying, I need. Because oftentimes it gets perceived by the partner, even though it's not the intention, that they're failing, especially when all they're hearing is, I need. So there's got to be a balance of what you're appreciating, what they're doing well, as you said. I mean, that's where that communication, what we talked about in the first C, lines up well with the check-ins.
And sometimes those needs are going to be small, right? I need you to take the trash to the curb. Sometimes they're going to be big. I need to feel more valued. Here's how. Mixing it up too. And as you said, like really softening it of, I love all these things. It's not all these things. I love all these things, but it's, I love these things. And the practicalities of our life are we support each other. And this is what I need tomorrow. Yeah.
And it's also, hey, I really love when this happens. I think you do a great job. And I would love more of this. I think this really helps me. And it's not that you're not doing a good job in it. I just think this is what I need based on where I'm at now. Much different than you never. Right. And the reason why we're talking about this communication piece within check-ins is because during check-ins, it's really important how we communicate what we need. But the premise has to be, what's going on for you? How's it going? How's your day? Talk to me about it. And then how the communication plays a big role. Obviously, why that has to be kept up.
And mutual. We're both sharing needs and appreciation. It's not just one partner.
Wait, reciprocity? What?
Right? We're both invested in these check-ins. We're not just going in and being like, keeping it one-word answers and then trying to get out of there. Invest in this. Invest in, okay, what I heard you say was you needed this. This is what I'm thinking to accomplish that. Is that correct? Get curious with your partner. Make sure you really understand what they need. So that they then also, going back to a previous episode, feel motivated to meet your needs too. When there's reciprocity, that breeds motivation and it breeds that healthy pattern we want to see in partnerships. Yeah.
And maybe that should be a separate C, but it fills well with check-in is curiosity.
Yeah.
But curiosity is also validating. When your partner is actually curious about how my day, and what's interesting, I see this a lot in young couples. They're curious. This is where the effort is. And everyone's like, well, it was so good when we were dating. Yeah, because you were putting a lot more effort than you think you were. And now we've just kind of slid into the more economical fashion of our relationship. And that's where
taking our partner for granted.
Yeah.
Our partner's now more annoying than they are like lovely and cute.
Yeah. And I think unconsciously we're like, I've had like 7 years of validating them. I think they know. They know. Well, they don't. Right. We don't. We forget about it.
Yes.
And we all have pretty sometimes negative times in our minds. And it's helpful to feel loved and heard and validated and know that you care by checking in, and compassion.
Compassion, the 4C.
Yeah.
They all kind of go together. If you haven't noticed yet, they all kind of meld together.
Yeah.
But compassion. Yep.
Compassion could be anything. And I think, and when I say anything, that's very broad, but it's very subjective of what somebody might feel compassion, how they might feel compassion. One thing that I think about with compassion is giving our partner the benefit of the doubt, showing compassion when they're not at their best. Our, I guess, effort in the relationship and reciprocity is going to oscillate. One partner might be more stressed because of something else going on in their realm outside of the relationship, and vice versa. And you're going to see this ebb and flow and this oscillation of back and forth of who's going to be putting more forth effort, who's got to step up a little more. Having compassion for our partners who may not be in the best place. And it's so hard because it might be a while depending on what's going on. But showing compassion is so important. And I can't tell you how much it feels like being a failure if we don't receive compassion and validation when we're down and not at our best. And we know it. The people who are not at their best, that partner knows. And there's guilt. There's a lot of guilt and shame with that. And compassion is so important in this.
So important. But that positive, that benefit of the doubt, the positive sentiment comes from the other 3 too.
Yeah.
Right. I wish it was inherent in every relationship, but it's not.
No.
Because if communication breaks down, if we're not checking in, I may not have positive regard towards my partner. Thus, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go instead to a narrative of, I knew they wouldn't do the dishes. I knew they were going to be a jerk. Gosh, they're so lazy. Why don't they do anything around here? Instead of, man, my partner's struggling. I'm going to go pick them up a coffee. Or, hey, hon, I see you're tired. Why don't you head to bed and I've got it tonight? Whatever it is. They're 2 very different mindsets to have in partnerships. The more positive one is fostered by really engaging in these 4 C's.
Yeah. And it's important too, if that first C isn't going well, to have compassion. And for example, my partner is very critical right now. Like she's not, I'm just giving an example.
I'm totally telling Taylor.
Say my partner is very critical right now. And one option is to take it personal, which I think is the easiest to be defensive. The other is a compassionate thing would be, I wonder what actually is going on for her. Right. This seems like a lot. And that changes it. That deflates it, whatever it is.
Softens it so much.
Rather than kind of personalizing it, which we often do.
And when I can have compassion, I'm more likely to validate my partner. I'm more likely to be curious. I am more likely to be patient, tolerant, whatever it is for that partnership. And thus my relationship is going to be better off for it.
And when you find it difficult to have compassion, because sometimes it's hard. And I think about situations with couples where the partner's like, I'm the one carrying this team. I do everything. I feel like the mother.
Why did I just think of like 19 clients in my head?
I feel like the mother. That might be true. And it's very hard to have compassion when you feel burnt out. Then go back to that first C. How do I communicate this need without making my partner feel like a failure? And one, compassionate, what's going on in their life that maybe picking up more, it seems too much. And communicating of, I'm burnt out. I need extra support. Not, you don't do shit around here. I don't know why I have to be your mother, but clean up after yourself. Not effective, right?
Effective.
So
not effective.
All of them come together, and that communication of what you're needing is so important. Even doing it in a way is compassionate because you are showing that you care about them by being compassionate and understanding their feelings and where they're at to assert your need.
And compassion inherently builds connection.
Yeah.
If I feel like my partner sees me and sees what I'm going through and is there with me, not to judge me or look down on me, man, I feel so much more connected. Even if I feel like shit in every other realm, I'm going to feel much more connected to my partner because I'm going to feel like they care. I'm going to feel like they want to support me. I might be more motivated to treat my depression, to get better, so to speak, if I feel like I've got a cheerleader next to me rather than
Mhm.
someone judging me or looking down on me.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times the other C's are, conditional upon that first C.
Communication.
It's very hard to give compassion when you are resentful. It's very hard to want to check in when you don't feel like that's being reciprocated.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to want to connect when I'm resentful or upset at my partner.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all, so that first C is extremely important, but recognizing that if I'm not able to be compassionate right now, why? What am I needing? If I don't feel like giving a check-in, I just don't want to hear right now what's going on. It may not be with my partner. Maybe I'm stressed.
I'm at capacity.
So then how do we communicate that to get that need, to get that support? Because I look at the couple system as this one unit that's working together to navigate stress, whether that's internal to the relationship or external. And these C's are really important to be effective at it. And it affects your parenting. It affects how you interact with anything outside of yourself.
Your job.
We have to maintain. This is why we're talking about this episode. This is like a maintenance. Like, how do we keep up with it? Because we don't. There's so many clients that we see that don't. And this is so, so important to maintain, like your car or anything around the house or things that you feel are important enough to schedule.
Yep.
We have to schedule these things. We have to continue working on these.
All of these speak again to the prioritization of the relationship because they take extra effort. Sometimes I might have to say no to going out with my girlfriends to prioritize connecting with my partner.
Yeah.
Or if they're having a hard day, maybe I'm not going to do the thing I want to do because I'm going to show compassion. I'm going to show up for them and support them. Maybe it means that I prioritize them over some family time. But prioritizing our relationship is key for relationship success. I've got to feel like I matter. And in fact, I've got to feel like I matter more than most other things. Some people would argue everything. Right? I've got to feel like I am important enough to you for this effort, the effort of compassion, curiosity, all the things.
Yeah. And as Gottman talks about, it's the first relationship prioritization is the first sacrifice when we're stressed. And we talked about this in other episodes. It's very difficult. And I think naturally we want to go into this self-preservation shell and focus on it. Well, we have a partner. We have a team that we can be a unified front on these things if we're continually maintaining and we feel like it's effective. But it's really hard to want to turn to our partner if we're not communicating well, we're not checking in, we're not feeling compassion. And
then we just build. We build that tension, we build that separation, and it can be hard to overcome, but not impossible.
What do you mean? It's a lot of people feel helpless in this. And I look back at the relationship history and I in my head, I'm always taking mental notes of where has there been compassion? Where have they been prioritizing each other? And I see this with a lot of parents. It's kids. The kids take priority. And there's a value
rampant in parenting.
There's a value system there. And it's like, that is important. But I'm wondering, thoughts on, this is what I'm asking. How does, if your relationship is not sound and you guys aren't doing well, how do you think that shows up with your kids?
What kind of example for your kids? I hear parents say like, well, we've got small kids, so they have to come first. Nope, sure don't. My kids are valued in my house. I want to make that really clear. But if I'm not taking care of my marriage, I'm not taking care of my kids well anyway.
It bleeds into everything else. Yeah.
Everything. We have to create that time, that energy, that effort. Remember, shift that language from I don't have time for that to I don't prioritize that. You can look at your partner and say like, I don't have time for check-ins. Shift it to I don't have time or I don't prioritize checking in with you. Oof.
Every time
that stings.
Every time that comes up for us in our conversations about time being a factor and a barrier for some, let's bring up what you've talked about in previous episodes. Check your Facebook usage, check your TikTok usage, check those hours on your phone. Oh, interesting. 16 hours this week, Rachel? I don't know, Rachel.
But it's so true. Yeah. You prioritize it with playing video games, digging around on your phone, whatever it is.
Oh, but I need that. I need that. That's important. Well, your relationship's not going to be there if that game is
right. If you can look at your partner and say like, I prioritize Candy Crush over you, it's time to just go your separate ways.
Yeah.
Or get some help. Right. But that's what's happening when I'm choosing. Candy Crush is but one example. TikTok's a huge one. I call it the marriage killer because it sucks people in. When I am choosing that to put energy in that instead of, hey, I'm going to pick my partner up a coffee.
Yeah.
I'm going to go rub their back for 5 minutes.
The connecting, the compassion.
Yeah.
I'm going to check in with my partner.
What?
Yeah.
going to call them.
I'm going to
Pick up
actively
the phone.
use communication skills to check in with them today.
It's an entirely different ballgame when you shift that language to, I want to prioritize my partner, and then actually do that.
Yeah.
Talk to people about their realized priorities and your idealized priorities. Idealized, yeah, my partner's my number one, maybe behind God. And then everything else trickles down from there. What is it really, though?
Let's do a pie chart of percentage of time spent.
Energy spent. And it's so true.
Yeah.
That for partners can be kind of mind-blowing of, oh, I guess you're right. I haven't been giving as much time or energy to them as I do my kids, my job.
Yeah. And for the partners who really love to take space and need space, and you need space, there has to be a balance. You can't be completely absent from your relationship because you're not able to manage your own distress that you have to go escape and
absolutely
at some points avoid. So find a way to meet in the middle. And those who are continually needing to talk and needing that connection, you need to find time to back off a little bit and give space to the partner who needs space.
And get support other places. Your partner is not your totality of everything, and they can't be your bottom priority either.
Yeah. And this falls under the check-ins. You learn this in check-ins. I need space. Okay. I need more communication. I'm needing more of this processing right now. Right.
I appreciate the level we're at. That's great. Right. We have a check-in of, I appreciate that you sent me a loving text today. Beautiful. Now I know what to do again.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing with compassion stuff, and this comes from Michelle Becker, who we've had on our episode, who did the compassion for couples.
Yeah.
And I have couples take some of the interventions that she uses, and there's one that we write or show them appreciation, and I use sticky notes and put it on the fridge. What do you appreciate about you? And it's not these grand things like, I appreciate you as a mother. It's more of like, I appreciate you make coffee. And we talked about this in other episodes. Just the little reminders. And even though if you can't do it continually verbally, have it on the fridge. So every time someone opens the fridge, they see that. Very, very important to show that compassion of just, I care about you. And this is where you matter to me. And I see you.
Bring them home their favorite treat or a flower. Pick a flower out of your garden. It doesn't have to be these huge grand gestures. We put so much pressure on, I've got to prove something. I've got to have this big sweeping
like the Valentine's
love
phenomenon.
bomb. No, you don't. It can be small.
Like the Valentine's Day phenomenon, where everyone is just like going big or go home. It's like, nope, I got to have everything. It's like, they just want some tea and a book.
They want you to rub their shoulders for 5 minutes without expecting sex, right? There are ways to do this that don't take much effort at all. Writing a sticky note takes what, 15 seconds? You cannot look at me and say you don't have 15 seconds. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And when I break it down to partners like that of, okay, your partner says she wants you to take out the trash. I don't have time for that. It literally will take you 90 seconds. Literally. Oh, I guess that's true.
Or if you're not okay with that, finding a way to communicate that effectively. Going back to that first C of, I'm hearing you ask that, and I know that's important to you. I'm having a hard time understanding because I have this going on right now, and I don't know if I can get to it when you might expect it. Is there another way that,
can we compromise?
Compromise and what that looks like? Yeah.
I love this because we assume because we're in partnership with someone, we're prioritizing them. That's not true. It's actually probably more that the majority of people don't prioritize their relationship than they do.
It's work. And if you don't want to do the work,
continual work.
And if you don't want to do it, I mean,
just like anything you let go. If you don't give maintenance to your car, if you don't put gas in your car, if you don't get your oil changed, what's going to happen? It's going to break down. Relationships are no different.
Yeah.
You have to prioritize it. You have to give that energy and maintenance, whether you want to or not.
And a lot of us, whether our parents did or not, that's not what was salient to us growing up of the effort that they made to make it work. Like, we didn't see that. What was salient to us is potential threat. So if they were in conflict or things like that. And so we, I think on an unconscious level, maybe just, oh, well, it should just work naturally. My parents made it work. Well, no, there was a lot of things happening behind the scenes that you probably didn't see or weren't salient to you. It's effort. It is effort.
And helping our kids have it feel more salient, right? Like, my husband and I will go on dates, and especially our 6-year-old always wants to go, and explaining to her, no, it's actually important for mom and dad to have our own time. She doesn't quite get it yet, but as she's growing up, that's going to start to sink in. So when she gets to a relationship, she will recognize, oh, I need to create that much like my parents did. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah. Or I see that they're always showing appreciation. They're validating one another. I see them spending time and prioritizing it because they get a babysitter.
Playing.
Yeah. Like think about like, oh, hey, grandma's coming over to watch today. Well, why? What are you guys doing? Well, mom and daddy need our time together because it's important that we spend time together so we can be happy together. Like whatever it might be to communicate of these are the things we're doing and our relationship is important and the compassion because they'll see that. And then we also may have to make it a little more salient, like you said.
I want my kids to remember us laughing together, playing together, cooking together, those quality time things. Even if we have conflict and our kids see that, creating resolution together, right? We set those examples of what this looks like to prioritize our relationship.
Flirting.
Yes.
And the connection piece under that C, right?
Yep.
Flirting together. Oh, I love it. My dad always used to tease my mom when we were making food together as a family or whatever, right?
We, Harper and I, at the start of every summer, we wait with water guns on the porch one day when Chris is coming home from work and soak him completely. And that to her is something she remembers, right? And it seems small, but that is actually a big enjoyment piece for Chris and I.
Does he enjoy it? I'm wondering if he's traumatized.
We give him like the little, teeny little pea shooter water guns, and we have the Costco super soakers every time.
So we talked about reciprocity earlier in our conversation.
He eventually gets a big one, but she gets to see us laugh and play because it's fun. We're not taking life so serious in that minute. Or if we are playing outside, playing tag with each other, whatever, build those pieces in. Prioritize that relationship, even when others are around.
The couples that have successfully done a lot of stuff I've worked with, everything we're talking about, it's just so different in session with them and so different in their lives. They talk about it. They have boundaries around the other stuff because they're prioritizing each other. They have less stress from the external stuff because they've learned how to do these things and prioritize it. And it's just incredible. And how much more resilient they are when they are on top of these it's just. And
they catch the speed bumps before they're massive issues.
Yeah.
Right. So they leave therapy because eventually we're hoping, not always, but hoping you leave therapy, like that you feel confident to do it on your own. But those are the couples that come back a year down the line. Hey, we just need a tune up. We've had a couple speed bumps.
Yeah.
So we're tuning up when it's a little issue, not this gigantic chasm in the couple.
Yeah. And it might be that you have to communicate that you're not on top of your 4 C's. The 4 C's that we talked about today. It might be, and that's okay. You're human. And naturally, working on the relationship is not something that I think is socialized for many of us.
But they prioritize it. They come back. They put in the effort. They are communicating enough to say something's amiss. We need to fine tune this a little bit. Yeah.
And I think we said as many episodes, Gottman says that it's, successful couples don't fight less. They just fight better.
Yes.
So they communicate better, they prioritize each other, they're connecting, which all serves as resilience factors. And that positive sentiment that he talks about too, is when we're not having a good time, I can see my partner the benefit of the doubt, or I can give them the benefit of the doubt.
Prioritizing your relationship. Take nothing away. Prioritize your relationship. This has been Relationships Inside Out, where we talked about the 4 C's of prioritizing your relationship. So communication, check-ins, connecting, and compassion.
And each partner has a role in this.
Oh, yeah. And then the bonus C of curiosity, right?
Yeah.
But there's reciprocity in all of these. And it has to be a continual effort, not just, I tried this week, so I'm done. Nope. Relationships are over time. As long as you're together, there has to be effort. As always, if anyone has any questions, topic suggestions, feel free to email us at relationshipsinsideout@gmail.com. Thanks.